All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the January 30th, 2020 meeting of the Nassau County Planning Commission. I ask you to all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag,
United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
Roll call.
Chairman Glennon.
Here.
First Vice Chair Greenfield. Second Vice Chair Shapiro. Third Vice Chair Lewis. Commissioner Blue.
Present.
Commissioner Ellaby. Commissioner Shaper.
Here.
Commissioner Warren.
She's here.
All present.
Acknowledgement of receipt of transcripts, January 9th, 2020.
We're going to just move something out of order. We're going to start with OSPAC public hearing for NCPC OSPAC file number 2.
And John, before you get started, anyone here from the public, there's speaker registration forms to my left, your right on that table. You need to fill them out and get them to staff. Thank you. Call John.
OSPAC file 2 of 2020. This is release of a property, Nassau County Stormwater Basin on Winding Road in Old Bethpage, Farmingdale zip code in Town of Hempstead, section 47, block A, part of lot 310. Nassau County is requesting permission to release county-owned property located at Winding Road, Old Bethpage, to Hetemco. Hetemco would like to use the property as an access road or driveway connecting at or around the intersection of Bethpage, Sweet Hollow Road and Winding Road. DPW approves the release condition on releasing as little as property is required to install the access road. Craig Pavel is here on behalf of Nassau County Real Estate.
Hello, Craig Pavel, Deputy County Attorney on behalf of Office of Real Estate Services at the county. As John introduced, this is an item for a company called by the name of Hetemco. It's part of a basin, a county-owned basin, just south of the old Bethpage Village Restoration. This is not part of the Village Restoration area. It's part of the basin. DPW looked at the parameters, the engineering concerns of this item being before and on the basin and approved this release of the property. And this, I believe, is just an introduction. If there are any questions.
This should be a public hearing, so I don't know if the motion was open.
Sure. I'll entertain the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we open the public hearing on OSPAC file number 2 of 2020.
Second.
All right, the OSPAC hearing is now open.
So just to clarify, because I often drive near this area, but I was having a little difficulty picturing it in my mind because I usually sort of go up around Swamp Road rather than turning right. But the concern here is that there's apparently a fair amount of big facilities here. We got you can see the trucks in that image for one of the properties. There's a skating ring and a couple other things. Yeah. So with all of that, apparently this particular manufacturer wants to be able to have a better entrance and exit from their property that would be safer. Is that the driving concern?
Yes, that's the driving concern. There is a traffic concern here. Being able to get vehicles out of the facility through this egress road would be beneficial to the safety, I think. I'm not an engineer, but I think to the surrounding traffic situation. When I went to OSPAC at Nassau County on this item, the board members were familiar with this area and the traffic congestion that can come in this area, especially because people use it as a cut-through, I believe. So I believe it's a good item for that reason.
And of course, we have heightened concern whenever we see projects that are near, that are looking to take a piece of one of our storm basin properties. They're not legally or constitutionally protected, but we have sort of a broad county policy that we always look carefully at any of those kinds of projects. So that's to say there have been a few cases where we've allowed some property that's part of a basin. Usually we need a demonstration that it's not going to have any negative impact on the actual recharge purpose of the basin. So I'm sure that would be part of what would be addressed here, as you've described, that they're not looking to change the basin in any way. They're just going to use the property that's near their property if this was allowed to go forward.
Yeah, that's correct. This would be just adjacent to and as minimal impact on the basin as possible. And indeed, this is one such case where the county had previously moved forward with selling a portion of the basin at that little notch above, you see above the currently owned Hitemco property, lot 309. And yes, I agree with you.
And of course, all the details of that plan would be worked out a little bit later. We're still sort of at the conceptual stage because it's a little tricky to ask a business owner to make the investment and all that kind of work, to write up the plans and have it properly surveyed and all that.
Yes, that's true.
If you don't know if you're going forward, right?
That's true. If you don't know if you have approval at all. In any case, I will renew my request to the CEO to work on a conceptual plan so that this can be better addressed.
So I think for the purposes of the OSPAC meeting, they're going to definitely want to see a little bit more than what we have here yet. So if the idea is that we hold this open for 2 weeks, and then hopefully you would have some additional information, and then I'll go into the file for OSPAC?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. OSPAC actually did say that they'd like to see a little bit more of a conceptual plan on this one. So that's how we'll proceed on this case, and that's fine.
I would be curious to know if the ingress could be between lots 270 and 275 and exiting between 269 and 70, if they could consider that be a minimal impact on the discharge, on the recharge basin.
I will take note of those lot numbers and that proposal, and I will discuss with our DPW engineer who previously took a look at this egress road and proposed release. And John can speak on it.
Commissioner Shaper, that location that you are referencing is currently the ingress. They are looking for an egress for trucks. So they currently use that strip for...
So they don't use the driveway between 270 and 275? It's not theirs?
That is theirs, and that's what they use for the trucks to go in. They're looking...
I might have misspoke. Can they come in on the right side of 270 and leave on the left side of 270?
So 260 on 270.
You have two driveways already existing, and they're further from what looks like Winding Road,
Right.
the Winding Road. And there's another road there.
That is the ingress and egress of the abutting property owner, so they can't...
So for the next hearing, would it be possible, if we see the conceptual plan, to also have perhaps one of the DPW's experts here to answer these questions from the Commissioner as to whether or not the plan they're proposing is really necessary, or whether there's some other way to do the entrance and exit?
Yes, for sure. Well, I'll look into getting a conceptual plan done by the CEO. I can't speak for DPW, but I will invite them to come on your behalf, and we can discuss these things. But I do think that no other access road on these other lots, as John mentioned, would be possible because those other lots are owned by other individuals. I believe the lot 275 is not owned by the CEO of Hitemco, which is on lot 270. And the current configuration of lot 270 does not allow the trucks, I believe, to turn around in a sufficient manner to operate the business, and otherwise in a sufficient manner to deal with the traffic issue that's currently plaguing this area.
And when would we get to the stage of SECRA review on this? Because normally SECRA comes early, but you don't have the full proposal at this stage.
Right. I believe the county will be working on the SECRA approval on this one, and given once we have the conceptual plan, it would be more appropriate, I agree, to finalize, for the county to finalize the SECRA application and process.
Commissioner Lewis, the SECRA review would be performed by staff, a recommendation from the commission to the legislature in conjunction with the sale, easement, or other disposition.
So that would come certainly after OSPAC's review or before?
During OSPAC's review and before, a recommendation would be submitted from staff to the commission before the commission could recommend to the legislature.
So it's sort of the SECRA review will be happening at the same time that OSPAC's review would take place?
That's correct.
Okay.
I do not have anyone signed up from the public on this. Anyone? On this issue or the, oh, okay.
Thank you. Legislator Rose Walker, and this happens to be within my legislative district. I did ask some questions beforehand and was able to get those answers. I was very happy to know it wasn't taking any property away from Old Bethpage Village Restoration. And from what I understood, what was explained to me is this now would allow these trucks to be able to exit facing forward rather than back out into a street, which is extremely dangerous, first of all, and very cumbersome for the truck drivers, as well as, you know, any traffic that might be on the streets when that happens, because unfortunately I have that in many places in my district. It just backs up traffic and it just creates major problems. So those were my two big concerns. I will certainly attend the next meeting. And I also had the concern that everyone in the area was notified properly and that they had the chance to speak out if they had questions or concerns. So those were my biggest concerns. I apologize. I'm not able to stay. I have a press conference actually in 15 minutes, so I'm sure I'm going to have to get to that. I don't know if I'll be able to speak on that
I
next.
think we're going to take the next one out of order anyway. Is that correct, John?
All right. Thank you.
Yes, okay, thank you. Not seeing or hearing anybody else.
So, Mr. Chairman, on this one, I think we're going to keep the public hearing open for the next meeting.
Just adjourn it? Yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn OSPAC file number 2 of 2020.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried.
Is that to a date certain?
Next meeting, 13th. That's part of it.
The next, we're going to,
We're going to go to the dispositions on OSPAC.
right, dispositions, we're going to group OSPAC file 14, 15, and 16 of 2019. That is all part of the same project. The county's requesting permission to grant permanent easement to the Navy for their environmental restoration program to address the Navy Northrop Grumman groundwater contaminant plume. The subject properties are 3 stormwater basins as well as Seaman Neck Road and Stewart Avenue. DPW approves the conceptual plan but will need to review the approved final plans. The action is exempt from seeker under the enforcement exemption provision since the remedial action and its work plans have been approved by the New York State DEC. This implementation of remedial action is not subject for review. At the January 8th, 2020 OSPAC meeting, the committee approved the easement 4-0 with 1 abstention condition on the following: 1, DPW approval; 2, the Navy is responsible and will pay for maintenance of their infrastructure; 3, Navy is responsible for removal of their infrastructure if and when the project is complete. We do have representatives from the Navy, and we also have Craig Pavel from Nassau County Real Estate to answer any questions.
Okay, and part of the issue last time was that we wanted more communication with the public, and I understand that some of that's occurred, so
Yes, at
address
the
that.
last meeting that this was, at the closing of the public hearing, this was a few months back, the commission wanted the Navy to have some outreach with local, the community in the area, which Navy has had. I can have them speak on that.
So I'd like to add one other condition, John, that Legislative Walker and myself spoke about, I don't know, back in December when you were here last, Rose. What irks me, and on the way to work today, the county repaved Westminster Road in Hempstead, West Hempstead, Hempstead Gardens, whatever you want to call it, last summer, and National Grid is digging it up already. And it's just a travesty of our tax dollars. And then the second travesty happens is it takes them 9 months to a year to do the permanent work on it. So I'd like to restore it to its original condition. So I'd like to add a provision there, especially on Seaman's Neck Road, which has to be dealt with, I'm sure, at some point in time, that they do the restoration work within 90 days of whatever infrastructure they put underground there. And they can't go on for a year or 9 months like National Grid, not my favorite company, insists on doing.
So, East Siemens Neck Road has not been repaved recently. The road opening permits that the Navy would require the Navy to restore the roads.
Yeah, but I want to restore it within 90 days.
Okay.
It's tough. It's
Okay.
tough. So, you have to have your weather situation under control.
I think the
If it's in the
phrase
middle
is
of the
as
winter,
soon
you
as
don't wanna be doing
practical. Yes,
Yeah,
as soon as
promptly.
practical.
I'll amend it to promptly as soon as practical.
Okay, let's move on, John. What do we have? DPW?
We have both the Navy and real estate.
Okay.
Yes, Craig Pavel, Deputy County Attorney on behalf of the Office of Real Estate Services. As John introduced, this is a Navy item on a few basins and part of Siemens Neck Road, I believe a small area of Stewart Avenue as well. And it's an easement to allow the Navy to put infrastructure in the right-of-way and otherwise create and do operations at the basins. And this is to facilitate, I believe, one of the phases of the remediation in connection with the groundwater plume. Please let me know if you have any questions. I am here.
So from the county's perspective with the basins, what would be different? There would essentially be a pipe coming into the basin that's going to release the water that has been treated?
So I believe I would defer to technical questions to the Navy's contractor and also to our DPW, but I can speak from my perspective as an attorney briefly that yes, there will be facilities that lead up to the basin and otherwise facilities at the basin that will take part in the entire, network or project, if you will.
From the perspective of Nassau County's real estate department, the
Yes.
basin is not going to fundamentally change in any real dramatic way. It's still going to serve its purpose of groundwater recharge. It's just going to have more water coming to it.
Yes, that's absolutely true. In terms of the basin and what you're speaking about, DPW had reviewed the release of the land and approved it. So our engineers have already taken a look at that consideration and given the green light on that.
Okay. Can we hear from the Navy folks on the?
Well, I think before we do, I just want to,
Yep.
yeah, I know the legislator Walker has to leave, and you came down the last time on this issue, and I'd like to hear from you and let you go. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I do apologize, but my press conference is at 10:30, and I probably should be there already. But I know you have received a letter from Legislator Ferretti. Two of those basins happens to be in his district. The one over on Boundary is in my district. And my residents have been living this for God knows how long, way too long. And as we spoke before, one of our biggest problems is when things happen and our residents don't know. I mean, it's bad enough that they have to deal with it, but when they don't know and it comes as a surprise to them, it creates a lot more conflict, and it certainly creates problems for us as legislators. My residents are very, very well aware. We did have a meeting over at the Bethpage Community Center discussing this project. We had more than one meeting, but the last meeting that we had, Legislator Ferretti and I met with the Navy, and then we had the meeting. I guess some people thought there was going to be a presentation aside from having the placards up that described what was happening, and it was a small turnout at the meeting. I don't know because people were really unaware of the meeting, not that they should be unaware of the meeting, or for whatever reason, it was a small turnout of the meeting. So I know Legislator Ferretti is extremely concerned that, and I could tell you, he's being honest, his residents don't have a clue. They don't have a clue that they sit on top of the plume. You know, if they live in Levittown, they live in Seaford, they think this is all Bethpage. You know, everything is isolated into Bethpage, and of course that's not the case. He's very concerned that if this project begins, his residents do not have a clue. I mean, he's not happy. He's not happy where one of those basins happens to be located smack in the middle of residential, and that's his biggest concern, and I know he's requesting you hold off. We did speak. I know, like I said, my residents are anxious to move forward. We want it done yesterday. But I understand where he's coming from, because it's going to present a major problem for him, and obviously his residents are going to be drastically affected. So I know, I guess, what's going to take place after, but they'll have to try to put something together to get a meeting in, maybe possibly right in his community area, to address this with them.
And I appreciate your comments. I'm going to read his letter as well. But they did meet with your constituents. You were at that meeting.
I was.
And did you feel as though that their concerns were adequately addressed?
Well, I think for the people who were there, but a lot of the people who were there were, like myself, members of the Navy. There were some community members there, but it wasn't a large attendance. What, do you remember the actual date of that meeting? It was the 12th, December 12th. It was December 12th. I should remember, because it was my daughter's birthday. But it was before the holidays. It was, it was not a well-attended meeting. I've been at those meetings where we've had a large number of people. It wasn't well-attended at all. And I think some of the people there were the residents that live in my district, and they were focused on the Boundary Avenue basin, and that area where we'd be taking, asking the county for some property.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, so I grew up in Bethpage, so whenever there's a story, I live in Massapequa now, but whenever there's a story in the papers and you see Bethpage, it's always about Bethpage in terms of the.
Right.
So I think I understand the point you're making is that people that live in Bethpage have been following this issue much more closely.
Yes, exactly.
Levittown haven't really, so no matter what you did in terms of a public meeting, you might not get a lot of people there because they don't.
I don't think they just honestly, as Legislator Ferretti said, he's been in office now for a couple of years. He said, I've never had one question, not one person approached me as far as that Grumman Navy plume goes, because they don't. They just, in their minds, it belongs to Bethpage. It's our worry and our problem. Now,
you
we're
also
realizing where that has gone to,
right.
And it affects many more.
But you define the tension very well. On the one hand, we want to make sure the public is well educated about what's going on. But on the other hand, this has been a very long process,
right.
And we, as one member of this planning commission, I don't want to do anything that slows down this process. We got to get this reclamation going forward.
Right.
Now, the concerns for Levittown in terms of we want to make sure the public knows about these this project, but to be frank, the impact is really quite minimal. Water is going to be coming into 2 recharge basins after it's been treated to drinking water quality.
Actually, theirs is in all treated water, correct? Part of the one in, okay.
It's when it recharged back into the basin.
Hold on, we got to get it on the record. So if you can just come up.
Come to the
Microphone.
for the benefit of the synopsis.
Name and address.
I apologize, but I'm going to have to.
No, we appreciate your
have my
time. Thank you.
Thank you,
No
Legislator.
apologies for your good advocacy.
Thank you.
And as I look over there, you're part of the beginning, right? 30 years ago. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Thank you so much, and thank you.
Thank you. It's good to see you. Just to introduce myself again, for those I haven't actually met, Christy Chester with the Department of the Navy. I'm a realty specialist. I'm responsible for acquiring the appropriate real estate interest for the remediation effort that we're discussing today. With regard to the question that was just raised about the drinking water standards, to clarify what she was saying, we pull from 500 to 700 feet from the aquifer, treat the water to drinking water standards, and then we recharge it back into the basins and submit it back into the aquifer. It does not go into the residents' drinking water, though we do treat it, the contaminated water, to drinking water standards. So just for clarification.
Yeah, so the point of clarification that I have, I think this was on in October of
Correct.
last year, and one of the reasons that we had put it off is so you can communicate with the residents and inform them. Has the Navy put together FAQs for the residents and distributed them on what's going on so they're informed? You have?
We have. We made notice via the paper, as well as fact sheets.
Do you have any of those with you?
I don't have them with me, I apologize, but I can
Because I'm
certainly make
thinking
you
maybe we
happy.
could put that up on our website
Do you-
as well.
We also have.
Do you have a website?
2 weeks, you know.
Yes, so on these fact sheets as well, there are also website addresses, resources available for the overarching remediation effort for the Navy portion of the Northrop Grumman and Navy plume, as well as this specific effort. So we also hold twice a year for the a RAB meeting for informative, it's informative for the residents as well. The last one was done in November. The next one will be done in April. So there's been a lot of opportunity, I'd say, for people to inform themselves about this effort, what's to come, what's happened, and so on and so forth.
So, to the point of Legislative Walker and Legislative Ferretti, and I think I can join in from all that I read from a distance, not living with it like they do. I don't think the people beyond Beth Page think it's their concern. And we should rename it the Beth Page-Levittown plume or something to get the people's attention. I think you got to get
And
people's
Massapequa,
attention.
by the way.
Massapequa
It's
also.
headed towards Massapequa.
So I think you got to make a much better and greater outreach to get the message in the community, because once you go into the mode and this appears in the basement and the basins, the people, being the nature on Long Island, will get hysterical, not knowing what you describe it as and what they're going to talk about it as, that it's going to be their drinking water, which it's not. You really, really have to go to the local papers, get it out there. You're not getting the message out there.
Okay.
If I could ask, so when water is recharged into the basin, I don't know if you know this, but how long before that water gets to the depth of where our drinking water wells are, which, as you said, are quite deep? They're in the 500 to 700 foot range.
Sure.
So water that goes into the basins tomorrow, once this project is up and running, is not going to be at 500 to 700 foot depth in a few days.
Correct.
Do you have any estimate of how many years it would be before the clean water that we're putting in will percolate its way through the aquifer down to the level where it does then become drinking water for our public water wells?
I'm going to have to defer to the subject matter expert with those technical requirements.
I have a comment on this discussion about notifying the public, which is a very valid concern, but equally valid, perhaps.
He was about to answer the question.
Let him ask this question, then we'll go back to it.
I'll say standing.
Name and address for the record, please.
Dave Brayer with Tetra Tech, a contractor for the Navy out of Norfolk, Virginia. I believe the question was from once the water is reintroduced through these basins, how long will it take to get to a water district? The water, as it flows, it mostly flows to the south toward the ocean. And we're introducing it about 5 or 50 feet, and most of the water districts pull it around 600 or 700 feet. We've done some reverse particle tracking, seeing where the water comes from, and that water generally takes somewhere between 20 and 40 years. What the water districts are pulling out now fell as rain, 20, 30, 40 years ago.
I won't be here then.
Well, yes, I will. So the point is well taken that people are concerned about the idea that you're going to take treated water and basically it's going to come out of their faucet. That's not what you're doing. You're adding treated water to drinking water. It's clean, but nonetheless, it's not going directly into their faucets from your project.
That's correct, because we're extracting water from 500 to 700 feet, the same depth that the water districts are. And our project is to intercept the contamination before it gets to the public water supplies. That's why we're doing this project. And then we pull it out, we treat it to drinking water standards, and then we reintroduce it. But it's to protect the public water supplies that are downstream from our wells.
Is that type of information on the FAQ? That it would take 30, 20, 40 years?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
So, just getting back to that for a second. So this is what I think that we like to do, because Legislator Walker had raised the concerns that Legislator Ferretti's concerns, and his constituents feel ill-informed. You said you have the FAQs. I'd like you to get them to our staff so we can put them up on our website. I would suggest that you get them out to the legislators so they can put it up on their website and get it out to their districts as well. And I would also strongly urge that you arrange some sort of meeting. I know it's short order, because we want to get this done as well, but we don't want people in the blind, and then you know what happens when rumors start. There's going to be bigger problems. So I want to make sure that everybody, if they want the information, they know where to get it, and if there's a meeting between now and February 13th, and they have the opportunity to attend, we can address these issues and be done with it. I think everybody on the commission here is pretty much satisfied with the benefit of it. The bigger concern is the community not feeling as though there was enough outreach.
So, Mr. Chairman, I agree with all the concerns you raised. I just maybe put them as a little bit less critical than the issue of making sure we keep this moving forward. And I don't see any reason to be delaying our action here today any further. The project has taken a really long time to get to this stage, and we should be a force for getting this done. The concern for people living around the storm basins that are going to have clean water pumped into those basins, yes, we need to educate them and be available to talk with them. In many respects, that's sort of the legislative function, so let's encourage all those meetings that you just said and all that information, but I don't think any of that should hold up allowing this project to go forward. There is not a serious concern by any means as to what's going to happen to the Levittown communities as a result of this project, whereas every day we're drinking water that has a highly toxic plume right at, it's so close to where our wells are drawing the water from. So we need to support this action, and so I just feel strongly we should.
And I'm not saying we're not going to support the action. My concern here is, like I said, educating the public. Our next meeting is February 13th. Council, I believe the next meeting of the full ledge, so they can't act before then anyway, would be February 24th. Is that correct? So if we take an action by the 13th, they would still have time to take their action on the 24th. So if we delayed this 2 weeks today, it's not going to have any impact on this moving forward. Is that correct? Okay. So that's why I'm urging in the next 2 weeks that we need a complete record on this. I mean, Legislator Walker was here the last time. You did the follow-up there. I don't know why Ferretti wasn't there, or was or wasn't there, or why his constituents weren't informed. But I really think there should be wide dissemination of the FAQs and an outreach to the legislators so they can put it out on their websites and do the type of meeting that I think Legislator Walker said was very productive. There were very little concerns after your meeting, so it was well informed, I assume. Let's get that over with, and then we can vote on this on the 13th.
Okay. May I speak to that? Okay, great. So what I'd like to point out are a couple of things. We last met with the Planning Commission in October. Ms. Walker was here. She voiced her concerns, wanting the public for us to reach out to the public, and we did that. December 12th, we met with Ferretti as well as herself. She wanted to involve him because, like as she said, the basins were in his district as well. We gave him as long as he needed to ask the Q&A that he needed to for his constituents to convey whatever information or to request what he needed.
I understand that's your position on it, but that's not what we're hearing back from Legislator Walker or Legislator Ferretti.
Okay, so I guess my point, and I'll get right to it, is that we held the public meeting, and it's been roughly, I'm speaking to the timeline really at this point. It's been roughly 2 months since then, and we haven't heard any requirements or requests from Ferretti or Ms. Walker since then needing anything else other than what we've provided at this point. So
you held a meeting in December when people's focus for Thanksgiving to Christmas is on shopping, not on going to public meetings. That doesn't cut it for me, and I just looked up. The name of the local paper is Levittown Tribune. It's an Anton paper. They have a lot of papers in the area, and the lead story is an obituary and a death and a birth. I think this is, not that anything's wrong with having obituaries in there, but you could certainly give, they'll accept your copy on something that's relevant to the community. Please reach out to them and give them the FAQs. meet with the editor, be interviewed, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
Commissioners, I just want to enter my statement now. The origin of this problem predates World War II. And I think maybe we're losing sight of how important to start this project is. And I understand there's some legislators who may have not paid attention to this effort, but they should have. So I think that consideration that this is an over 80-year origin of this problem ought to be taken into account.
And it is, and that's why I checked with council. We're not holding up the project if we wait 2 more weeks, because the ledge can't take any action until February 24th. We meet before then. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, well, are we clear on that? I mean, I heard the answer from our attorney, but I don't know. I believe they don't accept documents the day before a meeting. You know, there is a process that goes through, and it's very common that things get delayed because you didn't get it far enough in advance. So everything has to be ready by a certain, what is it, a 17-day rule before their meetings? And you're cutting it close, and B, you may in fact, impede getting this approved quicker. Plus, if the concern is, as I understand, it's a legitimate concern to have public educated about this complex project, although it's been covered fairly extensively in Newsday and other publications. And again, there may not be a huge turnout when you have a meeting, because what is the concern? Clean water is going to be added to a stormwater basin in my neighborhood. Okay, I don't really need to go to that community meeting. This is the 50-year plus, 70-year plus problem. We need to get this problem solved in Nassau County. I know people that have moved away from Long Island that write me emails saying how sad they are to hear that there's no clean water in Nassau County anymore. I mean, this is like an embarrassment.
But I think the bigger issue for a lot of the residents was not so much the drinkability of the water after it's been treated. It's the water that's sitting in the basin and mosquitoes. Now, I'll put this to the Navy. So our process here, if we were to close the hearing today, we would and make a recommendation to the ledge, and you have 2 legislators now that kind of said they don't feel as though the public has been adequately notified, they can hold it up then. So my point is, they'll hold it up on February 24th. We could hold it up today. You can take whatever action you need between now and the 13th, and you're going to have a very clear record, because like you said, in October, you had a hearing after our concerns. We put it over for 2 more weeks. This way, when you go to the ledge, you say, we heard the concerns of Legislator Walker, we had a meeting. We heard the concerns of Ferretti, we had a meeting. And now at the 24th, they're not going to say, well, we still have concerns. I think it's going to be less. It's up to you.
So what I would suggest, and it would be, if we can get your endorsement moving forward, and then we get our package together with the town attorneys going to the ledge. Between now and then, I'm happy for the Navy to meet with Legislator Ferretti again, just so it's clear. The Navy imposes on themselves public meetings after the endorsement of the municipality or the property owners, after we acquire the rights. We will hold another public meeting for any of the impacted residents prior to construction. That's something we do either way. But what I would suggest is moving forward with this endorsement here, so we're not holding up our process. We can get our package together for the ledge, and between now and the ledge, I will open ourselves up to meet with the Navy and any other, Ferretti or anyone else with a concern.
All right, Mr. Chair, I think if it's been 70 to 80 years, another 30 to 60 days, it would not be that significant.
You would think, however, our leadership and the public's perspective, every day every day that we're not up and running moves us back another day. And whenever we're speaking at these public meetings, and I'm speaking and looking at these residents in their eyes, because I have many times over, for me to tell them another 30, 60 days is a problem for them.
Right.
So I'm trying to be an advocate for.
We just highlighted that there's a community that may not have sufficient information, and I think it behooves us to attempt to give that information, especially if most people think it's only one community, Bethpage, but it's actually others like Levittown and Massapequa. So whatever we could do to try to make certain that they know about it is what
And listen, we're not objecting to this. All I'm saying is nothing, even if we dispose of this today, nothing's going to be approved until February 24th anyway by the ledge, if it gets approved then.
Mr. Chairman, let me add some more, because I apologize, Mr. Chairman, Speaker, and with my co-counsel, it would have to go to the different committees. That won't even be till March, so it's actually further down the road. So if it went to the full ledge, it wouldn't be to the end of March. So 2 weeks is inconsequential.
Exactly.
At this point.
We would not be able to have a public meeting in the next 2 weeks. It would be a 4 to 6 week process
Right,
for us to
what
pull
are we
our team together
accomplishing with the
and the
2-week
appropriate-
delay? I don't
appropriate
see anything
notification.
accomplished with a 2-week delay. We have the
not
Navy
going to
prepared to hold additional community meetings. There's going to be a vote of the legislature, and it may be a month or two away. I don't understand why the Nassau County Planning Commission is looking at this project. We have a review by OSPAC, and the public wants this project to get done. And this is not the end of it. This is just
No,
one
this is-
part of it.
Right.
And we need to get this going. I just don't see what we're gaining by delaying. I just don't see.
I agree with Commissioner Lewis.
But in the next 2 weeks, if you were to make public in the papers, in the local papers, to just give people more information, I think that would show a good faith effort on the Navy's part.
I still question whether we'd be able to have our PR people draft what's needed, have your approval as to it saying, the content of it being what you want it to be, and have it circulated within the next 2 weeks. Just,
Okay.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from.
I'm going
just
to
really
ask
don't think I'll be able to
that we take a
accommodate.
brief adjournment for advice of counsel. Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Yeah, back on the record, Steph? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to not close the public hearing and extend it to... Okay. Okay, we're going to move to adjourn this matter until February 13th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Voice vote on this one, Mr. Chairman?
Can I get the vote first? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? One opposed. Commissioner Lewis. Okay, so February 13th. And what my suggestion was, let's get the FAQs out, reach out to Ferretti's office, and we'll deal with it on the 13th.
Okay, is there any other requirement between now and the 13th?
Levittown Tribune, Anton Papers,
What would you like us to put in?
the FAQs, or have a meeting with the editor and sit with them and talk to them.
Okay.
Or the reporter, and tell them it'll be on the agenda.
Anything
You got to do a better job of outreach. I don't think to that community, everyone thinks it's a Bethpage problem. And then they'll wake up and see it in Levittown and be upset.
Anything else?
Commissioners? Nothing.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you. Now we're back to the Aspect 1.
You open the public hearing.
We need to open up the public hearing on this.
So moved.
All right, public hearing is now open on NCPC Aspect File 1, 2020.
Aspect File 1, 2020, release property 205 and 209 Main Street. There was a typo. Incorporated Village of Hempstead, Section 34, Block 193, Lots 6, 116, and 117. Nassau County is requesting permission to release county-owned property located at 209, 205 Main Street, Village of Hempstead. The property currently has a parking lot and county building. DPW approves the release without condition. Again, Craig Pavel from Nassau County Real Estate is here to speak.
Thank you, John. Craig Pavel, Deputy County Attorney, on behalf of the Office of Real Estate Services. The address here, this is, I believe, 203, 209 Main Street. We've got this used to be, or perhaps still is, maybe a transition is in place to the Department of Health Labs building. I believe this is in Hempstead, and this is a disposition, an application for a disposition. The county would like to transfer this property out of county ownership. This would put it on the tax rolls. Overall, I think it's a good project. Do you guys have any questions about the specifics of this situation? I'm here.
I don't have anyone signed up from the public. Commissioners? Okay. Entertain a motion.
Chair,
Close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Agenda item C, I believe that's withdrawn.
Yes, item C is withdrawn by the applicant.
Okay, D, is there a request for an adjournment here?
The applicant requested an adjournment to the February 13th meeting.
Is the applicant here, or?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn item D, NCPC file 1996F2 to February 13th.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Opposed, so carried. What do we got, E?
We got E. This is major subdivision application, determination, completeness, and adequacy of draft environmental impact statement pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act for NCPC file number 1997P1, map of Willow View Estates, 99 Meadow Drive, Woodmere Golf Club, Woodmere, Town of Hempstead, Village of Lawrence, and the Village of Woodsburg. Today is the next step in the process of SECRA. On September 26, 2019, the Nassau County Planning Commission, as lead agency, adopted the final scope. On December 6, 2019, the applicant submitted the DEIS to staff. Staff distributed the DEIS to Nassau County DPW technical staff for review and completeness. A memo was prepared, which includes a number of specific items which should be addressed before the DEIS is presented for public review. Staff is recommending to provide the applicant with said memo identifying what DEIS should be revised. We do have representatives from the applicant if need be.
So the memo that you mentioned, I'm going to just draw your attention to that for a moment. So you have it dated 1/28/20, is that right? The memorandum from you guys, from our staff.
That's when it was drafted, and we're asking it to be memorialized today.
And it's numbered with 16 items, and these are items that would result in changes in the DEIS.
There's 16 changes to the DEIS and 2 that are referencing the final scope. So a total of 18.
Total of 18. And has the applicant had a chance to see this memorandum?
Yes, we did hold a meeting on Monday with the applicant's consultant, VHB, as well as the applicant's attorney, and to preliminarily go through these items.
And just so we know in terms of how this fits in with the public outreach part of the whole process, once we have a draft approved, then it will be made available to the public, right? So at this stage, this back and forth where we're raising concerns about whether the draft is adequate, that has not yet been posted on our website or anything like that.
That is correct.
And the response to the 16 items doesn't imply that everything else that wasn't addressed is actually, or is accepted or so.
Can you repeat the question?
I'm suggesting that we highlight 16 items. It doesn't suggest that if there was some other item that wasn't touched, that it's automatically accepted.
Well, we were just stating the items that are not adequate for public review. And those are 18 items, not 16.
So staff reviewed the draft environmental impact statement and the content of the DEIS against the adopted scope, and determined that, as Mr. Prack has mentioned, there are 16 instances where the DEIS does not adequately address the adopted scope, and those 16 comments items are enumerated in the memorandum that is before you today. So the request would be for the commission as the lead agency to, at this point, determine that the draft EIS submitted by the applicant is not yet complete, nor is it adequate for public review, and that the 16 items, issues that staff has identified be addressed and resolved in a subsequent submission of the DEIS to then put before the Planning Commission for a determination of completeness and adequacy for public review.
We have the applicant here.
Yes.
And if I may, Commissioner Blue, just to answer your questions, what we'd be doing is taking the position that they have, though the commission does not have to agree to it, that they have adequately responded to the other issues. We can't raise new issues after this.
Okay, Counselor? Name and address, and then I just have a couple
Good morning,
questions.
Christian Brown, 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Suite 601, Uniondale, attorney for the applicant.
Now, I understand that you've met with staff and gone over these comments already?
We did. I met with staff along with our engineers from VHB, Mr. Sally, Mr. Parakis, and some of the folks from the county. We went through the comments. Don't have any major or substantive objections to
Okay.
what staff has asked us to. They're mostly points of clarification and some additional detail. So VHB is already working on addressing them, and we hope to resubmit to staff shortly. And the aim, if we, meet the standards, is to be back here and hopefully have the commission agree that the DEIS is complete and ready for public review and comment on the merits at your first meeting in March.
Oh, good. I was hoping you weren't going to say February 13th.
No, we understand the timing wouldn't work, but we're going to aim for
As
the
you
first
can see, we
meeting
got a
in
full
March.
schedule on the 13th.
Yeah, and just to add, this is more of a, I would say, analogous to a procedural step to ensure that all of the information requested is put into the report. Once the commission and staff agree that all the information is in the report, then we will go to the substance and the merits of what is in the report as part of the review of the DEIS.
So, Counsel, I want to point out that I reviewed the draft as each of the commissioners had an opportunity to do. It's a big document, obviously.
Yes.
I chose to focus on areas that I thought I could bring some knowledge to and let the transportation and some of the other experts look at that stuff and discuss their take on that with the staff. So I prepared a memo that I'd like to share with you today, and I'm going to ask that it be made part of the record. It's my sort of questions and initial analysis in the areas of climate change and energy impact of the project. I identify 5 questions that I think are essentially legal questions that should be addressed. And I do want to point out on the record today a couple of points that I raised. So as I say, I'll make a copy of this available to you.
That's fine.
Okay. So first, I did ask the question about what is completeness in terms of the standard, and I think you began to speak to that it's not necessarily reflecting an agreement on every point, but that the points are addressed adequately. I also asked how closely the EIS is expected to follow the scoping document. I think in regards to the section that I'm addressing, it didn't come very close to following it. So I raised a concern about, what is that standard? The third question that I wanted to raise gets into an area that's pretty actually legally fascinating. On page 299 of your DEIS, I understood the paragraph to be making a fairly sweeping legal argument that the NCPC as lead agency is restricted from imposing any kind of mitigation measure that has to do with climate change and the impacts of the proposed project that would result in changes in building code requirements, arguing that our authority is limited to our subdivision authority. And there's an interesting legal argument that I don't think holds up under merit, and I think it should have maybe been disclosed more clearly that that's what it was doing. So in that sentence, the proposed action involves subdivision of land, and the emissions reduction cannot be identified at this point. I'm sorry, I'm getting.
So just so you're clear, we're going to have you have the staff recommendation that you've reviewed.
Yes.
Commissioner Lewis wants to not include it so much in the letter, but as a guideline for you when going over the letter.
I have no objection to that, and we'll be happy to try to address Commissioner Lewis's comments along with the staff memo as part of our resubmission, and if there's a need to have a separate legal addendum that addresses any of those questions, I'm happy to put one together, even if it technically stands outside the DEIS. However the commission wants to proceed is fine.
Okay.
I can work it out with staff.
All right, thank you.
That's much better than the Navy. I like your answers.
Much better than the one?
The prior hearing.
Oh, yes.
Somebody was longer than one of your cases, Chris, the Navy.
In an hour, we could figure it out, I'm sure.
Okay. I do not have anyone signed up from the public. Any other commissioners? Not seeing a hearing, I'll entertain a motion.
Yes, so the staff's recommendation is at this time to deem the DEIS incomplete and adopt the 18 points or comments that will be transferred to or provided to the applicant to address in the resubmission of a DEIS.
Mr. Chair, I move that we deem 1997P-1 as incomplete, and we include the letter drafted with the 18 items highlighted by staff as a reply to the incompleteness of the DEIS on our behalf.
Second.
I'd like to amend the memo on paragraph 16, where it says renewable energy. Before that, it should say energy efficiency and.
I think that's item 15.
Mr. Chair, I would amend the recommendation with that highlighted revision in that sentence in that last section of the letter recommended by staff.
Okay, motion as amended.
15, it was paragraph 15.
Motion as amended, I need a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Go ahead, Jazz.
Okay, first minor subdivision case is 06-2020. The applicants are Diane and Jacqueline O'Rourke. This is for a 3-lot subdivision, site location 2457 and 2467 Devon Street in East Meadow, New York. Section 50, Block 15, lots 50 through 58. The 18,000 square foot area subject property is situated on the north side of Devon Street in the hamlet of East Meadow in the town of Hempstead. The application proposes to subdivide the property into 3 zoning compliant parcels. All 3 parcels will have 60 feet of frontage on Devon Street by 100 feet, a total of 6,000 square foot area parcels. The application is considered as of right. The town of Hempstead issued a zoning compliance letter for the proposed subdivision signed by Louis Carnival on October 3rd, 2019. Here to speak on the application is Lee Kirsch.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Lee Kirsch, 33 Rogers Drive, Cold Spring Harbor, New York. I'm actually contract vendee, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I do, yeah, you did. I do not have anyone signed up from the public. Commissioners, any questions? All right, not seeing or hearing any, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that NCPC minor sub-file 6201, which is zoning compliant, be approved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
With a negative deck.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next minor subdivision case is 07-2020. The applicants are the Seaford Union Free School District, number 6, and the DeMondas. This is for a lot line adjustment. Site location is 2556 Island Channel Road in Seaford and 3500 Bayview Street in Seaford, Section 63, Block 261, Lots 3, 4, and 780. The application proposes to convey 2,187 square feet of the school's 15.51 acre property on the east side of its Lot 4 to the neighbor at Lot 780, whose property is situated on Bayview Street. The letter of zoning compliance was issued back by the Town of Hempstead Building Department on November 1st, 2017. The district-wide public referendum on the sale of the property was held back on May 16th, 2017, and was passed. A special public meeting of the board was certified on May 17th. The application was previously known as 09-2018 and was approved at the February 15, 2018 hearing. Here to speak on the application is Albert D'Agostino.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, on behalf of the applicant, Albert D'Agostino from Minerva and D'Agostino PC, 107 South Central Avenue, Valley Stream. I really can't add too much to the very thorough presentation made by staff, except to tell you that we were not involved in the transaction, merely the seeking the subdivision, and there was a prior approval. The deeds were sent back, and apparently there was a failure to send the approved map by one of the attorneys to the transaction to the county clerk's office, and then it sat in their file, and we were just notified recently. And based upon the language of the resolution, which I am very much aware of because I'm the one who originally proposed putting in the words automatically denied, we are back requesting a reapproval.
Okay. I don't have anyone signed up from the public, not seeing or hearing anyone. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion on NCPC File 7 to 2020 for an approval, and seeker is a type 2.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? So carried. Thank you, Council.
NCPC File 08-2020. The applicant is Sarah Elshazli. This is for a 2-lot subdivision, site location 250 Clocks Boulevard, Massapequa, New York, in the town of Oyster Bay, Section 66, Block 98, Lot 31. The 826 square foot area subject property is situated on the east side of Clocks Boulevard in the hamlet of Massapequa in the town of Oyster Bay. The application proposes to subdivide the property, which has 200 feet of frontage, into 2 parcels. Proposed parcel A will have 117 feet of frontage, a total of 40,662.7 square foot area parcel. Proposed parcel B will have 83 feet of frontage, a total of 27,163 square foot area parcel. The town of Oyster Bay has issued a letter of zoning compliance signed by Timothy Zeich on August 14, 2019 for the proposed subdivision. The application is considered as of right. Here to speak on the application is Frank Ferrantello.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Commission, good morning. Frank Ferrantello, professional engineer, surveyor, 12 West Mall, Plainview, New York, 11803. These lots are zoning compliant, R110 district. They are a total of 67,000 square feet in total. There'll be a 40,000 square foot maintained on a lesser lot with the existing residence. The new building plot with the house proposed is of 27,000 square feet. This proposal and layout prohibits any future development of the, any future subdivision of this lot. There were some flag lots proposed in the past from our firm many years ago, but obviously this lot can yield more lots, but this proposal actually prohibits that. Any further questions or comments?
I don't have anyone signed up from the public. Commissioners, not seeing or hearing. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, let me just make a comment that the staff has recommended that the applicant must obtain New York State DEC subdivision approval if required, and obtain any and all applicable New York State DEC permits for the property.
You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. You okay with that?
Of course.
Okay.
All right, so subject to that, I will make a motion for approval on NCPC File 8 of 2020 with those conditions.
And a neg deck, I second.
Thank you.
Motion made, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Last on the minors.
Last minor subdivision case is 09-2020. The applicants are the Russell Gardens Association in the Village of Russell Gardens. Site location is on Wensley Drive in Great Neck in the Village of Russell. It's the Great Neck postal code of the Village of Russell Gardens, Section 2, Block 355, lots 53 and 54. This is for a lot line adjustment. The purpose of this application is to reapportion the two parcels of the subject through a lot line adjustment. The Russell Gardens Association has applied to the Village of Russell Gardens for a lot line adjustment concerning the 3.6633 acre parcel that currently includes a community pool and parking and wooded land. Upon approval, the Russell Gardens Association intends to gift the 1.115 acre of Lot 54 to the village to be merged with Lot 53. The village intends to keep this parcel in its natural state. The Village of Thomaston has issued a waiver of subdivision approval. The application is considered as of right. Here to speak on the application is Miss Andrea Curto.
Thank you, Jasleen. Good morning, Chairman, members of the Commission. Andrea Tsoukalis-Curto. I'm with the firm of Forcelli, Deegan, Tirana. She pretty much explained the application. I just wanted to give a little bit of history. This commission did approve a minor subdivision of this parcel in 2014. At that time, a portion of the property was transferred to the village. That lot is now known as Lot 53, and they're now reapportioning Lot 54 to give additional lands to the village because they cannot afford to maintain it.
I think it's interesting that you say reapportioning because it does look like it's been gerrymandered instead of...
Quite a bit. Yes. They did it that way to be able to preserve that natural state over it's called the Eddie Cantor Preserve. And so they wanted to make sure that they carved it out that way so that they can maintain it in its natural state. And that's what the village intends to do.
The former Eddie Cantor House or something? Is that?
Everything on that lot, Lot 53, is owned by the village.
Oh, not the Park District.
Lot 53 is owned by the village.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Kathy.
Sure.
Anyone else? I do not have anyone signed up from the public. Not seeing or hearing anyone, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that NCPC minor sub file 9/2020 with a type 2 be approved.
Thank you very much.
Take item 10 last, okay? So that, because Commissioner Lewis and Commissioner Greenfield will be recused. Also, let's take all the LDs except for, besides that, we're going to take 6 at a turn. Mr. O'Brien has to recuse himself, so let's do that first. And then we'll group the rest of them as one LD. Any commissioners have any other comments on these at this point?
Case 4, there is a comment, although it says LD, and I have...
Could you put your microphone on?
I'm sorry. I have a question about case number 4. I have a question on that. So
Okay.
even though it says LD, I'd like to discuss it briefly.
Okay, so why don't we hold on case 4, and let's do case 6 first. Take a motion for LD on NCPC agenda item number 6.
Mr. Chair, I move that NCPC 113320 be approved with LD.
Second.
Opposed? Motion carried. And I'll take a motion on NCPC agenda items 2, 3, 5, 9, and 11 for an LD.
I move that NCPC agenda item for zoning number 2, 3, 4.
Five.
No, you want 4? Sorry.
Hold 4.
My apologies, sorry. Agenda items number 2, 3, 5, 9, 11. What about 12?
11 and 12, right?
11 and 12 be approved. For
Second.
local determination.
Local determination, second.
Chancellor, just put up number 4. Okay, yeah, item number 4, this is a conversion of a, what appears to be a, yeah.
We could speed this up a little.
Oh, sure.
Is the applicant here?
No, the applicants for zoning, the zoning agenda don't normally show up, it's not a public hearing.
Okay, so maybe you know then.
Yeah.
They're proposing a fitness center of almost 9,000 square feet
Right.
with an addition of another 5,700 square feet, which is extremely large for a fitness center. Do you know anything more about it? I'm just curious.
Well, I can tell you that this requires, the property is zoned business from Hempstead Turnpike to the parallel street to the south, I think it's called Phoebe Street, and it requires demolition of 2 homes along Phoebe Street. It is zoned, and they're going to create access on two residential side streets. One will be, they can open up.
Excuse me, Marty.
So, yeah.
The question is really, do you know anything more about the use as a fitness center that's
I think it's
extremely
a synergy.
large?
I think right now they're located across the street to the east, and they're going to relocate in this new facility, and they're expanding to the west, which is now a parking lot.
Commissioner
And it's
Schaefer, for
quite
what it's worth,
short on
I'm
parking.
very familiar with the area. There's a movie theater there, there's a couple other stores. As far as the activity over there, it's not, there's a number of commuter lots there that are underutilized. It appears that, from my experience, that the expansion of Synergy will not in any way adversely affect
Yeah, I didn't-
the area. Did the Hempstead, I can talk to you about the timing of the lights on Hempstead Turnpike, which is under state DOT, which is another subject for another day.
Another
As far
day.
as the impact of the Synergy Gym,
I was just wondering if there was really additional uses for the property, because that's extremely large for a fitness center. I mean, 5,000 square feet is big for a lot of fitness
It
centers.
doesn't get the activity that you would think with a major place.
All right.
Maybe I'm using the
All
wrong
right,
word
then-
by saying major, just to fill you in
I
on
just
the
wanted
area.
more information if we could get it, but
Well, there are
I will stop at that
Two
point.
commuter lots within, two municipal lots within a 200-foot radius of the subject property. If those weren't there, there'd be some substantial issues with regard to parking. But
All right, so at this point, I'll call for an LD on NCPC agenda item number 4. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, Marty, let's do number 1.
this is NCPC case number 1231119. This is in the village of Wilson Park, and it's for parking variances. This is a proposed one-story commercial building consisting of about 5,500 square feet to be used as an ice cream shop. They're substantially short on parking, 9 provided, 28 required. An application to develop the subject property was before the Planning Commission on 2 previous occasions, once on 7/19/2018 and once on 3/28/2019. At those times, the applicant requested a 3-story mixed-use building that included ground floor retail and 8 apartments on the 2nd and 3rd floor. Initially, the Planning Commission requested a parking and traffic information. Said information was provided. The second time the commission, when it came to us, the commission requested that the project be scaled down substantially to contain the parking and eliminate a third floor. No other plans were submitted. The plans to develop the property for a mixed-use building have since been denied or withdrawn. I know for a fact that there was substantial community opposition to this. This particular use, it's quite a large ice cream shop, and staff is recommending that additional information is requested, as this is a proposed ice cream shop is large, that is resulting in substantial parking shortfall that may impact homes along residential Goodrich Street, and will, as well as potentially impact traffic along Goodrich Street. Thus, a parking traffic analysis is requested.
Okay,
Marty,
Commissioners.
do we have a picture of what it looks like? Oh, here it is. Okay. And the building's going to go in the... I know, but this is, can I just look at the picture? So the building's going to go on that corner of where it's all fenced off? Okay.
You know, butts up against a residential neighborhood, and again, this may have an impact, but we don't have any traffic and parking information concerning this particular use.
Can you go back to the site? So where will they enter the parking lot?
Well, they'll enter on the side street, which is Goodrich.
Okay. So am I missing where they're going to enter?
Side street.
But, okay. No, I don't see where they're going to enter.
Marty, I would also suggest in your incomplete, we get a site plan that shows where they're going to enter.
Okay. Because I see the parking.
Marty, so this came before the commission previously, and it was for a three-story building and 8 apartments, and this time they scaled it down to be only an ice cream shop and dumped all of the apartments?
This is just going to be a single-use commercial use as an ice cream shop, and a fairly large one.
So is that a success for Nassau County Planning that we?
I think we had an impact on that one. We had some issues initially. I know the Planning Commission had issues with respect to the proposed scale of the use, and the fact that it wasn't containing nearly enough of its parking on site. And it was 3 stories, which is unprecedented along that stretch of Willis Avenue. Yes.
Okay, Commissioners, do I have a motion on the incomplete additional information for parking and traffic study?
Yeah, I'll make a motion on NCPC case 123-1119, our case number 1, that this is incomplete. Additional information requested in the form of a traffic and parking analysis, as well as clarification on the curb cut for the parking.
Second.
Favor?
Okay. This is NCPC case number 117120. This is town of Hempstead, Hamlet of Oceanside, and it's for a change of zone. The applicant requests a change of zone from residential B to business for a split zone property in order to facilitate the development of an assisted living facility consisting of 3 stories and 85 units. That is a permitted use in the business zoning district, but not in the residential district, thus the change of zone. The subject property consists of 2.84 acres. The portion to be rezoned is 1.8 acres. And the business part of this is along Atlantic Avenue. That's what exists as business zoning right now. The site is currently grassed vacant property. To the west are vacant buildings and accessory structures. To the north are homes. To the east across Terrell Avenue is a linear creek park, beyond which are stores. To the south across Atlantic Avenue is a building supply store. If the change of zone is approved, height and parking variances will be required. The maximum height permitted is 2 stories, 30 feet. 3 stories, 50 feet are being proposed. 87 parking spaces are required. 52 are provided. Access is to be provided via a single curb cut on Atlantic Avenue, which is a county road and required 239F approval. Initially, the site was rezoned from business. Little history here. Initially, the site was rezoned from Res B to business to CA, which is multifamily, to build 56 units. But the change of zone expired, and the zoning reverted to its original designation. This proposal is now before the town. It should also be noted that the property due west was rezoned to CA, which is multifamily, to build 23 multifamily units, which the commission saw a while ago. Construction has yet to commence. Staff is recommending additional information. It doesn't have staff doesn't have a problem with the change of zone. However, parking and traffic, it will come before us for variances if the change of zone is requested because of the height and the parking issues. The application results in a substantial parking shortfall of 40%. Assisted living facilities can be expected to have times where there are many visitors and special events where parking may and usually is an issue.
Go
ahead.
I would like to add to your comment about the parking is that during shift changes, there's an extreme need for parking. I have personal experience with this, with facilities like this, and that's when the real crunch comes. You have visitors, you have an entire staff parking there, and the shift change trying to park.
Right.
It's quite intensive, so I don't think you're underestimating the peak need.
I agree, Commissioner Shaper.
Also, Marty, do we know what this building's going to look like? Because since it is being changed from residential to multifamily, I mean, can it stay within the character of the neighborhood, or is...
Well, my own experience seeing these Sunrise assisted living facilities and other ones are, they try to keep I don't think, I could check, but I'm not sure if I have an elevation of this, but they usually try to be residential and have architectural features that, that look nicer than a regular commercial building. That I know.
And also buffering, I guess it's going to be parking around by the residential area. Have they talked about how they're going to buffer that parking lot for the residential folks?
The site plan.
Marty, I would.
For the use and trees and landscaping. Yeah.
All right, Marty, I would also suggest you're 100% correct on the parking and traffic analysis on your incomplete. So once we get that, then it'll probably show us what they're trying to do. There's another one up in Glen Cove, but there's very little parking there, and that's near a school. All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for additional information on NCPC case 117120 for a parking and traffic analysis, including peak times such as shift changes and visiting hours.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're going to do number 7 next. Commissioner Blue, you are recused.
Okay, this is NCPC case number 113420, Town of Hempstead, Hamlet of Inwood, and this is for a special exception, area and parking variances. The applicant is proposing a 5-story, 48-unit multifamily building. The subject property is divided by Russell Place, which is a small residential street that intersects Bayview. West of Russell Place, the property is occupied by 2 frame dwellings, 1 vacant and 1 occupied, accessory structures and outdoor storage. East of Russell Place, the property is occupied by a dwelling. All structures will be demolished. The proposed multifamily building will be located on 17,800 square feet west of Russell Place. Parking will be located on 11,500 square feet east of Russell Place. Variances are requested for the following: height, a maximum of 3.5 stories are required. 3.5 stories required, 5 stories proposed. Lot coverage, maximum of 30% required, 97% proposed. Front yard setbacks on Bayview Avenue where 0 feet are proposed, and front yard setback on Russell Place where 0 feet are proposed. Also parking with minor parking variance, actually, 48 spaces required, 46 proposed. Also, a special exception is required to exceed the maximum required floor area ratio, or FAR, where a maximum of 0.9 FAR is required and 2.89 FAR is proposed. To the west is a small Nassau County water pump station and homes. To the north are homes. To the east are homes. To the south, across Bayview Avenue, are garden apartments. The case was before the Nassau County Planning Commission on 11/16/2017 for a change of zone to URD-C, which is the Urban Renewal Residence District. The Commission issued an LD with a letter at that time indicating that the change of zone for a derelict piece of property across from garden apartments had merit in an area in need of upgrade. The project represented an over-intensification of development that should be scaled back and is out of character with the neighborhood and did require substantial variances, which we would hear if this change of zone was granted. So happens the town did grant the change of zone, and it is back to us
So, Marty,
for these variances.
I'm not clear. What was before us? The rezoning?
The change of zone, right. But
That was the only thing that was before us?
That was the only thing, but yes, and now it's the other land use
So
actions
now it's the
required.
specific project?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I thought you were saying this was what was before us, and at the same time to change the zone. So it was a change of zone.
Right.
That was an LD.
With a letter, with a strong letter saying that this would
And
come
so
back and we'd have problems.
this doesn't fit in within the character of the new zoning?
No, the current plan before the commission has not changed. Staff is recommending.
Marty.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking the question.
Right.
You said the current plan hasn't changed. We didn't have this before, is what I understand.
It came to us as a change of zone with this same site plan.
Well, that's
But
what I
it was for
just
the
asked. You
change of
said
zone.
no. Okay.
All right.
So it
Now
came
it's
as a
for us-
package.
Okay, so wait a minute.
Yeah.
It came as a package, same exact plan, but yet we turned around and we LDL'd it. So why are we denying it now?
Because we had concerns with the intensification of the use on the property. They didn't address that. It came to us with all of the. The commission didn't have issues with the concept of a change of zone to upgrade this neighborhood.
Marty.
Yeah.
Let's get simple. The Manish Tanakh question. Why is this plan different than all other plans?
It's the same plan, but it's for us for variances and a special exception. And it didn't address our concerns initially. And it's it is out of character with the.
But here's part of the question. That was 3 years ago. So you got a derelict site. The images don't look all that great.
Right.
But in the interest of protecting the residential character of the community going down the other block, we're trying to block development to put residences on this property. It doesn't. It's hard to see what we're gaining in terms of trying to block this project all these years later, and the site is still derelict. Is the fact that it's derelict have an impact on your way of evaluating it? Would you evaluate this project differently here, given the current situation at the site? And maybe we could back up on the photos to see the site. do you evaluate the proposal differently based on the current situation at this, like this image?
Marty, if I may, just one question before you answer Commissioner Lewis. Did the town grant the change of zone, or did they not?
They granted it, as the site plan indicates, is in the
Okay.
urban renewal residence district, but they still had to come, but it still varies substantially from the requirements in that zone in terms of height, building coverage, FAR. To me, I view it as over-intensification on that property.
Is this spot zoning, or was this for a particular area? The change in zone. Let's go back to the change in zone. Was it just for that lot?
It was for the property east and west of, along Bayview Avenue, east and west of Russell. So it was for,
So it was,
if we see the area.
yeah, but that's what this is going to encompass. That's what I'm saying. So it's really spot zoning is what we, Marty?
Is it real, is it urban, is the whole section deemed? Okay.
There are apartments across the street. I think they may be subsidized apartments across the street, so I wouldn't necessarily call it spot zoning. It's not, but these are two-story garden apartments, relatively low intensity.
Marty, I would think that looking at this derelict site,
yeah,
and you're only short 2 parking spaces.
Parking is not an issue, right?
Well, 2 spaces, to me, is not an overly big number, but I think it would be an upgrade for the neighborhood, rather than, leaving it derelict for how many more years?
So I make a motion that we LD it.
97%, 97%.
We have a motion and made it second.
All those in favor? Aye.
It's a local determination? Fine.
Yep. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. All right, last but not least is number 10.
And I'm recused on this.
Commissioner Lewis and
Yes, for the record, I'm recused on
and Commissioner Greenfield are recused.
I just want to advise the commissioners that there's going to be there's another item after the zoning agenda.
I know, but I can't stay there.
So,
We still have a quorum.
I have a property, I want to make an egregious zoning.
All right, this is
Commissioner Blue's back.
Going to get a bunch of junk cars and put it on.
NCPC case number 121120. This is in Rockville Center, the applicant's Beloit College, and this is an amended site plan for Phase 3 of the campus master plan. The initial site plan review for Phase 3 of the campus master plan was before the Planning Commission on 1/5/2017. The current application amends certain elements of the Phase 3 portion of the campus master plan, which I described. The changes from the initial Phase 3 plan are not substantial from a traffic and parking and traffic generation standpoint, and staff recommended, commission recommended LD the first time, and I feel it should, and staff is recommending local determination this time.
So
Okay.
moved.
Second? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, John, I guess you're up again for the last one.
He's H. H?
H as in Harry.
Item H is miscellaneous application, declaration of immunity for USGSA-owned properties at or about Lawrence Drive, Wantagh, Town of Hempstead, Section 51, Block 295, Lot 56. Lot 56 is owned by the Federal Aviation Administration and is a vacant lot formerly used by Grumman back in the day, 2005. The Federal General Service Administration, on behalf of the FAA, offered 7 homeowners whose properties that abut property 56 to the south on Lawrence Drive, parts of Lot 56 consisting of approximately 15 by 60 parcels that would be added to the rear yards of the 7 abutting owners, so that their backyards would be extended approximately 15 feet to the north by the widths of their respective parcels. Each parcel was offered a $100 cost to the homeowners. All 7 owners agreed, and in 2018, they finally each received deeds of the subject properties. They now wish to record the deeds with the clerk. However, if we record the deeds, they would not all be for parts of Lot 56, which can't be done without subdivision approval. The FAA is exempt from local zoning laws. The county clerk does not want to put the 7 owners through subdivision proceedings with Planning Commission due to the considerable expenses involved for these $100 parcels. The clerk is willing to record the deeds as parts of lots, but the clerk would feel more secure in doing so if the Planning Commission could give us either waivers of jurisdiction or some sort of tactic approvals of subdivisions without fees or a public hearing. Staff is recommending to allow the 7 homeowners to file their respective deeds with the county clerk.
On the one hand, it's straightforward enough, but on the other hand, it's kind of an odd proposal to be declaration of immunity, kind of sort of jumps off the page. Is not something, well, in my how many years here, we've never voted on any declaration of immunity, I'm pretty sure. Okay. Oh, okay. I can see how that could come about. All right, but the bottom line, as John explained, is just about allowing these deeds to be recorded so that the tax rolls can be adjusted and such.
A simple motion that the FAA would be immune from zoning requirements with respect to these Wantor properties would suffice. Correct, John?
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, not seeing any additional questions, I'll make a motion that we accept the declaration of immunity for the USGA-owned properties at or about Lawrence Drive, Wantor, Town of Hempstead, with the sections 51, Block 295, Lot 56, for the purposes of allowing the 7 homeowners to file their respective deeds with the county clerk.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Hold on. What, Marty? Turn on your mic if you want to say it.
Getting back to the Inwood case, which would the commission have any issue with the modification to scale?
Marty, we got to recuse the commissioner. You got to wait.
I'm sorry about that.
Hold on. Let's finish the motion that Commissioner Lewis made. There's a motion. Do I have a second?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Now,
Mr. Chairman, before we reconsider the other item, just to be clear for the record, I think I did ask on the record during the DEIS completeness vote that we put into the record the 6-page memo that I wrote. I'm not asking that it represent the view of the commission, just my individual question, because I think it's important that the applicant be aware of the concerns that I raised.
I did make that motion that it not be considered part of the letter, but can be used as guidance for the applicant.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Marty?
Yes.
We voted on it, but go ahead.
No, I thought about it. Maybe the commission, before we leave, may want to reconsider and request recommend a modification. We're talking about a 5-story building. We're talking about something that's...
We sent it for a local determination, didn't we?
With a letter, though, to scale it down. That's all. Okay. I just thought
You just made the recommendation on the record, so you can send a transcript. Does anybody want to amend?
No.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, see you in 2 weeks.